Sir, you mentioned that in our current business climate, that it's going to be very difficult for businesses, including small businesses, to continue to prosper without the accessibility to fossil fuels that we have had. That therefore the right thing to do is to go out and aggressively drill for the little bit of fossil fuels that remain. If our civilization was coming to an end just over the horizon, that might be a wise thing to do. But you know, sir, you cannot pump what is not there. And there's increasing evidence that the world just will not have the ability to increase the production of oil and gas in the future. And I would be very suspect, sir, of the prognostications of USGS and the of what oil is going to be found out there. Allred says that their projections are absolutely implausible, that we're going to find as much more oil as all the known reserves that exist in the world today. And even, sir, if that were true, it only moves peak out about a dozen years. Albert Einstein, when he was asked what the next great force in the universe was going to be, he said that the greatest force in the universe was the power of compound interest. 2% growth doubles in 35 years. It's 4 times bigger in 70 years. It's 8 times bigger in 105 years, and it's 16 times bigger in 140 years. We just are going to have to find a way to have prosperous businesses without using increasing amounts of fossil fuels, because, sir, the evidence is they're just not going to be there. Our country reached that point in oil in 1907, in spite of drilling more oil wells than all the rest of the world put together. We still are producing only about half the oil that we produced then. Coal has been mentioned. There's probably about 100 years of coal remaining, not the 250 years we've been quoting. The National Academy of Sciences says that it hasn't been looked at since the 70s now, and they believe about 100 years. Even, sir, if there were 250 years, if you increase its use only 2%, that shrinks to 85 years. If you use some of the energy to convert it to a gas or a liquid, it shrinks to 50 years. And if you share it with the world, then there is no alternative to sharing it with the world. Because if we use oil that we get from coal, then the oil we might have bought from Saudi Arabia is bought by somebody else, isn't it? So from a practical world perspective, we must share whatever energy we develop with the world, because if we aren't using energy from over there, someone else has access to that energy. You're correct, sir. There are huge amounts of potential energy in our oil shales, more than all the known reserves of oil in all the world, recoverable reserves in all the world. But, sir, there's also more energy in the tides or in methane hydrates, more energy in methane hydrates than all the fossil fuels in all the world, including those that we have burned so far. But because the potential energy is there, it doesn't mean it's in your gas tank. There's an old adage that says that energy and power to be effective must be concentrated. Shouldn't we have started a long time ago an aggressive program to develop alternatives, knowing that since the United States peaked in 1970, which is certainly an indication we're a major part of the world. If we peaked in 1970 and the same person who predicted that peak predicted the world would be peaking about now, shouldn't we have started a long time ago to develop alternatives? Rather than sitting here today using ethanol from corn, doubling the price of corn, increasing the price of wheat and soybeans and rice around the world. Headlines above the fold, Washington, the New York Times a couple of days ago saying that the leaders of the third world countries were complaining that we were starving their people because our corn ethanol program has more than doubled the price of corn, wheat, and soybeans and rice around the world. Shouldn't we have started a very long time ago, sir, to do this?
Congressman, I think it's extremely important that we identify and develop alternative energy sources. What you find, though, is that if we rely, which we do, on private business to accomplish these things, it all has to do with price of energy. And many of these things, even today, are very difficult to get people to invest money in, anticipating, an adequate rate of return.
Isn't that why we have a government, sir, that is supposed to exert leadership?
Can you answer with a yes or no? Since we don't have much time left.
That's a tough one to answer, yes or no.
Let me just say, time is expired, but Mr. Bartlett, two things. This side of the aisle really enjoy your participation when it comes to energy policies. And I, for one, will be making a recommendation to any Democratic administration to appoint you as Department of Energy Secretary. Time is expired, and I want to take this opportunity again, Secretary Allred, to thank you for your participation, and we will continue to monitor BLM mission and to make sure that steps are taken to protect small businesses that are such an important sector of our economy.
Madam Chairwoman, it's a pleasure to be here and visit with you, and any time that you would wish to talk, I'm most willing to do so.
The gentleman is excused.